Today's gospel reminds me of the blind beggar Bartimaeus, who made a scene in order to call the attention of Jesus, who happened to be passing by. When Jesus asked the blind beggar what he wanted the Lord to do for him, Bartimaeus said, "Lord, I want to see." But after he regained his sight, instead of returning to his family, we are told that he followed Jesus on the way to Jerusalem. I'd like to believe that he was also present at the crucifixion of Jesus. He followed Jesus on the way. I think what he really meant when he said, "I want to see," was, "I want to see you." In our gospel today, we hear about a group of people who came to Philip and Andrew with a similar request. "Sir, we would like to see Jesus." And nawiweirdan naman ako sa sagot ni Jesus doon sa request. Hindi niya sinabing, "Okay, I can see them now." Instead of saying that, he said, "The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains just a grain of wheat. But if it dies, it produces much fruit." Ay, anong klaseng sagot yun? How is that an answer to the request, "We would like to see Jesus"? A little bit of an explanation. John says, these Greeks who wanted to see Jesus had come to worship at the Passover festival. It means most likely they were Gentile converts to Judaism who were coming for a pilgrimage to Jerusalem in order to join the yearly festival commemorating the passing over of Israel from slavery to freedom through the sacrifice of the Lamb. Remember, the gospel writer has announced from the beginning of the gospel, through the mouth of John the Baptist, that the mission of Jesus was to be the Lamb of God, ang Kordero ng Diyos. Remember that scene when Jesus was walking by and John the Baptist pointed at him and he said, "Yan ang Kordero ng Diyos. Behold the Lamb of God." And two of the disciples of John began following Jesus. And remember, when they started following Jesus, Jesus looked back and said, "What are you looking for?" And their answer was, "We want to see where you live." And Jesus answered and said, "Come and see for yourself." Now they are in Jerusalem and they are about to see. Like I mentioned to you a few days ago, for St. John, the crucifixion of Jesus in Jerusalem is not a defeat, but a victory. It is an exaltation. The cross for St. John is not a morbid symbol of suffering. Rather, it is a hope hopeful symbol of redemptive love that is willing to pay the price for the sake of the beloved. Kaya ang tawag ni John sa crucifixion, a lifting up. Sa palagay ko, si Pope Francis, he may have had in mind the planting of the cross in 1521, 500 years ago, when he reflected on the gospel last Sunday while commemorating the 500th year of Christianity with Filipino Catholics in Rome and all over the world, because we followed him online through the live streaming. And if you followed the homily of Pope Francis, you would remember that he focused on 2 points. Di ba yung gospel was, "For God so loved the world, He gave us His only Son." And he focused on 2 points. First, God so loved. And then second, God gave. God so loved and God gave. That the giving proceeds from the loving. He so loved and He gave. Kasi ang team natin gifted to give. He wants us to make sure that the giving proceeds from the loving. That was the gospel that spoke about the Son of Man being lifted up. And John even used the metaphor, or as metaphor, the way Moses thou in the desert lifted up the bronze serpent as instructed by God. Kasi hindi ba, they were bitten by snakes in the desert. And to save those who had been bitten by the snakes, Moses was told to mount on a pole a bronze serpent. Para daw lahat ng tumingin doon sa serpent on a pole would be healed. The symbol of the lifting up is the healing. Since all human beings, whether Jews or Greeks or Gentiles, have been bitten by the poison of sin in today's gospel, he says, "When I am lifted up from the earth, I will draw everyone to myself." Meaning, the healing that Jesus brings is not going to be only for the Jews, but for everyone, for all humankind, para sa lahat ng sangkatauhan. Perhaps this message is repeating itself now, that all nations around the world have been bitten by the dreadful coronavirus. It is an occasion for the whole world to be drawn to the healing message of the cross of Christ. John is telling us, now that the Gentiles are coming to see Jesus, it means that the hour has come for His lifting up. His passion and death will give a totally new meaning to the Passover for the Jews. It will enable everyone, because usually the Passover is only for the Jews. It talks about liberation, but only for the Jews. But the lifting up of Jesus, the Lamb of God, is for the whole world. And so He gives a totally new meaning to the Passover. It will enable everyone, whether Jews or Gentiles, whether saints or sinners, whether worthy or unworthy, to be able to cross over from the slavery of Satan to the freedom of the sons and daughters of God. But itong lifting up na to of the Son of Man has to be preceded by a fall, by the sacrifice of the new Passover lamb. It will be a different kind of fall. Unlike the negative fall of the old humanity, Jesus is now the new Adam, the new humanity. And the fall of Jesus, the fall of the new Adam, the fall of the new humanity is no longer negative, it is positive. It will give way to a rising to new life, like the grain of wheat that falls into the ground and dies, in order to produce much fruits. Kaya kung Kristiyano ka, kung alagad ka ni Kristo, wala kang dapat ikatakot bumagsak. We're always afraid of failure, aren't we? But there is always a rising up. Laging may pag-asang bumangon na muli with Christ. The fall usually has a negative meaning, as I said, in the Bible. It always connotes sin and failure, the fall of Adam and Eve. But the good news is our gospel today gives the fall a totally new and positive meaning as Jesus relates it to the act of sowing, pagtatanim. Siyempre, pag nagtatanim ka, hinuhulog mo ang mga binhi. You make the seeds fall on the ground so that they can germinate and multiply themselves. No longer will the fall be associated only with the negative meaning of falling out or falling away, but rather with the positive meaning of things falling into place, of seeds falling on the ground. Sa Tagalog, the word for meaning is kahulugan. And the word for meaningful is makahulugan. And the root word in Tagalog is hulog. And what does hulog mean? Fall. The image that it suggests, yung nai-imagine ko, ay timba. Hindi ba? Kung nag-iigib ka ng tubig and you pump the water from the artesian well, or you open the tap and the water flows. Kung walang timba, walang sasalo sa tubig. What will happen to the water when there is no bucket to fall into? It goes to waste. Masasayang lang. Kakalat. And I like that word, kalat. It is the opposite of a meaningful life. Ang hindi nabubuhay na makahulugan dito sa mundo ay nagkakalat. Bakit? Walang kinahuhulugan. There is nothing that gathers or collects them. There is nothing that makes things fall into place. My dear brothers and sisters, alam ko ho, itong pandemyang ito, it has caused many falls. Many people have fallen sick. Many lives have fallen away. Our economies continue to be on a free fall. Many of our sources of security have been falling apart. Could this be an occasion for the whole world to look up at the Lamb who is lifted up so that we can be healed? To look up at the Lamb who is lifted up on the cross so that we can be healed. Could this be an occasion for us to give this negative fall a more positive meaning? Could this be an occasion for all of us to let things fall into place all over again? At totoo naman, sa buong mundo, marami ng mga lipunan ang nagkakalat. Maybe now we're just being given the opportunity to gather things together. Na ang mga bagay-bagay ay muling magkaroon ng kahuhulugan. That things will fall into place all over again. Or we learn to fall like seeds on the ground. Seeds on the ground. In order to rise and bear fruits.